Big Daddy Linux is sponsored by UpCloud, which can provide you with superior cloud hosting and cloud infrastructure with unrivaled performance with their Max IOPS technology. Sign up using the promo code BigDaddyLinux, which gives you $25 worth of credit along with a 7-day free trial to see for yourself the UpCloud difference. And welcome to another Biddle on Saturday, July 6th, 2019. How's everybody doing?
Good.
Fantastic.
Good. Thank you.
I'm currently suffering.
You all right? Somebody's not feeling well.
No, I'm fine. I'm just like kind of suffering right now because Cinnamon 4.2, and when that means a new release comes out, it's nothing shiny, just bug fixes, according to OMG Ubuntu. But like, after reinstall every package, make sure that it's okay, make sure that I delete the old stuff, but make sure you're careful, otherwise you delete the important stuff. And if you do that by accident, then you're screwed. So it's taking forever.
You good now, Joshua?
Joshua's live stream.
All right. Is the sound? Can we get a confirmation from the chat that the sound is good, and we will move on. This week,
I listen to the sound. Sound is great.
All right, dig it. This week, we decided to do something different, something a little bit out of the normal. We are usually considered Ubuntu fanboys because we don't stray far from easy distros, or at least that's some of the comments anyway. So we decided to do an Arch challenge this week, and I, for one, can't wait to hear how everybody made out. I know how a couple of you made out, but I think it's going to be an interesting chat, to say the least. So, Seb, Peasy, started out, brother. How did you make out with... Well, let's put it this way. What did you use to install Arch, and how did you make out?
I installed Arch the Arch way, but not from the Arch Wiki. I found a TechMint website that gave very good, simple instructions and translated the Arch Wiki into user English. So I ran through this, and I guess from start to finish, it took me about 2 hours. There were a couple of false starts as I did my usual. Read it, didn't really looked at what I thought it said, and then went like, oh, that wasn't what I was meant to do. Right, start again, and then quickly caught back up with myself. There was a couple of slip-ups because even these let's install Arch easily don't have all of the instructions. And I'll give you a classic example. I got to the part where I was installing Plasma, and I found another very good tutorial that talked about needing to use the SSDM manager for login, but then forgot to tell you to enable the SSDM service and to start the SSDM service. So I'm sitting there rebooting. Of course, I'm not getting a prompt because I haven't. And then when I went back and looked at the tutorial, those two commands were hidden in the screenshot of what he thought he had typed as part of the tutorial. Once I got that fired up, great. I had a very nice, minimal Arch Plasma install. Later on in the week, I trashed it and did it again and did it in about 45 minutes. Just because I thought, I've done it, I'm going to do it again. And yes, I did it in about 45 minutes. I'm guessing if I kept on doing it, I would eventually get there.
Yeah.
So I can say I've used Arch. Will I do it again? No.
So,
I don't see the benefit.
By the way, you use Arch and you're not just a user. Just saying. So let me ask you, did you use when you installed the desktop, did you use the Plasma command or did you use the Plasma meta command? Meta?
No, I used the Plasma command because I read that if you use the Plasma meta, although it can make updates easier, it just links too many things together. So if you wanted more granularity and more control over what you were doing, and I can't remember what the command was, but there was 3 ways of doing it. You could either do Plasma Desktop, Plasma Meta, or just Plasma.
Mm-hmm.
I think I ended up doing the Plasma Desktop, and then had to go through the usual. Right, okay, well that's interesting because I've got it all installed, and where's my panel? I didn't have a panel, so something had gone wrong somewhere. So I had to go and work out how to make a panel, etc., etc., etc. And it's these little foibles that I just don't have the real patience to try and work out, which is why I'll never install Arch the Archway again, and I'll just go and use a fantastic distro like Salient or Arch Labs or Arco or Manjaro or any other of the distros that take the pain away of doing it yourself, because there are no speed benefits to doing it yourself. At least there wasn't for me. But it was a good experience. I enjoyed it. I'm glad I've done it. Not going to bother with it again.
Yeah, and you are right. If you kept doing it, you would have it down pat to where it would be no problem whatsoever. All right, Thomas, sir, did you install Arch?
So, not this week. Instead, I installed Ubuntu because I ended up getting a new SSD for my laptop, and it was easier to just reinstall my OS than it was to set up my partitions and then find the file that the partitions are laid out in, change the file, and hope everything works without borking my system. I have installed Arch before. I did it the Arch way. I liked it. I probably wouldn't do it again either, just due to the simple fact that while for me it did give me speed benefits, and while I do like the AUR, I don't understand the whole principle of like how do you get an AUR helper and set it up and all that, because when I installed it, I did not have an AUR helper, and it was a pain in the derriere. So I'm not doing that again, even though I love the extra speed.
You pretty much got to think a glorified PPA, and then that's all the mind you need to put into it.
Right.
I'd rather just stick with my typical Ubuntu.
Yeah, you're not gonna. I don't think you're gonna convince too many people of trying Arch and loving installing Arch. You know, there will be people that enjoy it, and there will be people that don't. It's just the way it is. Dan,
Yeah,
sir,
I understand why people love it.
It is. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I don't enjoy installing Arch, but I do enjoy following along a tutorial and actually accomplishing it. I was like Peasy, where I tried the first time this week. It wasn't the first time I installed Arch, but it was the first time I tried it this week. I kind of failed somehow. I don't know how I did it, but I screwed it up, and I ended up trying to go, I'm thinking to myself, well, I can, like start in the middle of these commands because I already installed I had already been halfway through it. So I'll just remount the drive and start in the middle. And hey, that didn't work either. So I ended up just leaving it there for the night and then coming back to it in the morning and reinstalling it, and it went perfect. So, yeah. Dan, sir.
Yes, sir. I did not install Arch this week, but I have done it 3 times the Arch way for this show. I've done Deepin, GNOME, and Budgie. I've done all 3 of those for the show, and I did it the Arch way every time. I personally don't mind Arch. Once you get it set up and running, keeping it maintained is not a hassle. It's not like Slackware or Gentoo or whatever, where you want to install a piece of software and that becomes a major pain. Even if it's in the AUR, it's not too terribly bad, especially once you get your AUR helper set up, if that's the way you go, or even just making the package. It's not too bad. But I'm not your typical user for sure, and I'll acknowledge that. And so if I was not running an Ubuntu-based distro, I might very well be running Arch, and be pretty happy with it, honestly. I think the Wiki the installation guide walks you through it pretty well. And if you do run into a problem, you need to kind of like stop right there and then find out what has gone wrong. And the links that they give you to go out to do the troubleshooting do help, and they can add to the time, especially the first time you go through it. But I think it goes through it quite well, honestly.
Well, I think the wiki is great. I think where the problem ends up being, and maybe that's on my part as a user or what, but when you have to do the tree links where you go off into a specific area, like maybe UEFI BIOS or something like that, and then you have to pick which one is for your specific setup, finding your way back to the main steps is where I think there is a disconnect.
I can agree with that. When you leave where you are, if you will, and trying to get back to where you were, can be difficult. And if you don't have a lot of problems, it's not that bad. But when you run into a whole bunch of problems, it can be difficult to get back to where you were, know where to pick up, because that's when you start skipping steps. And if you skip steps, you're going to run into problems. You cannot skip any steps. You have to go through it in that order, or else it just isn't going to work for you. I like the control that you have as far as what you are installing. You get to choose. It's a choose your own adventure thing, and the story you can make it come out the way you want it to. So that's kind of nice. At least that's what I find valuable in it, more than the performance enhancement or whatnot. I find the value in when you get done, you made that and it's the way you want it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like I did, Zeb, you did the Plasma, like just the Plasma install, like the sudo pacman install Plasma or whatever it is. I did the Plasma dash meta, and in hindsight, it's all a learning process, but in hindsight, I probably would have done one of the other commands, because I ended up with like the very basic of Plasma, as far as like Dolphin wasn't even installed. There was like a lot of the stuff that might be in the whole desktop as a whole was not there in the meta packages. So
yeah,
but it's all a learning process.
Mm-hmm. And just before we move on to Vash, I just want to say that I don't dislike Arch, because I ran Manjaro for 3 months. I'm running Salient OS now. I love the Arch Labs installed and the way it does it. I'm just not going to install it the Arch way, because I didn't see that benefit. And whilst I like learning, my learning is by repeating stuff, continually doing it, not sitting there with a headache trying to translate what was obviously a very, very competent wiki, but to call it a beginner's guide. Yeah, it's a beginner's guide if you've never installed Arch before, but it's not for beginners.
I'll agree with that.
And they say that Arch is not for beginners, so I think they just need to reword that slightly.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. It isn't for everybody, and there's plenty of distros out there that are Arch based, even, that do a fantastic job of presentation for you. But yeah, it's definitely the builders are drawn to it. The people that like Nate, that do Legos or whatever, it's the people that want to build it the way they want it, not necessarily have something handed to them ready to go. And so I think that's the value in it.
Yeah, sure.
It definitely expects former knowledge of some kind. I remember installing it and I had no idea what I was doing. It took nine repartitions, which I probably only need to do one of, since I only think I messed up my system once, to the point of irreparability.
Yeah, I know what it's like. Yeah. Okay, Vash, did you try the Archway?
I did not do it this week, but I have done it in the past. Just a few months ago, actually. I decided to install it on a whim, so I didn't get the chance to do it this week. I was working on other projects like pfSense, but what I do remember is for the most part, until you got to the point where you had to start doing the part where you have to go and install your your display stuff, and you have to pick your desktop and all that stuff. That's the point where I actually had started having a little bit of trouble, just because I'm not as familiar with a lot of that particular piece of it, because I didn't have to do the NVIDIA drivers the old way or anything like that. So that is kind of where I ended up getting stuck when you had to go and actually install the I'm trying to think of what it is. Not Wayland, it's X, right?
Xorg.
Yeah, Xorg. That's where I got stuck, because you have to do. They're like, well, you should create the Xorg this thing, the config, and all that kind of stuff. And that's the part where I really kind of had some trouble, just because it was really difficult to determine that this that I installed it on has an older NVIDIA card, so it was really difficult to determine like which graphics driver it should be on. And once I figured that out, it's like, okay, now how does Xorg config and all that fit together here and stuff like that. It wasn't too terrible, but I mean, I did notice during the actual setup where you're in the live in the live Arch environment, and you're building your local one. I did end up learning some things from that, especially when I started really realizing how the makefs command works and all that kind of stuff. So I did find it useful when it came to learning things, but I did use the Arch Wiki and look back at some videos and things like that, just to better understand some parts of it that weren't as clear in the Arch Wiki. But yeah, I will agree with I think Rocco was saying just a few minutes ago, when you have to go drill down into those other sections, that is where it really gets difficult. I would just open new tabs, but the problem would be finding in that new section exactly what you're looking for, especially if you're not familiar with it, like I was talking about with Xorg. So that's kind of where I ended up getting stuck. And then I realized, oh, they're saying you need to activate this as a service. And I'm like, oh, okay. And once I realized that, I was okay. But it just took me a little bit to really realize that and kind of get all that going. But yeah.
That's a very good point, because I'd argue that using Arch doesn't get any easier after you install it. It actually gets harder, because you're just on your own. You have to navigate the wiki. You need to know where to go. You don't have a nice install guide. You have the post-install wiki page, which is useful, I guess. But you're still kind of on your own as to how you want to navigate that and what you actually want to do.
Right. And there's just so many options. And, I've been using Linux for like 9 months now. So this was probably 6 months in. And it's like, okay, I have all this stuff, but I have no idea which I'm actually going to prefer in the future.
Sure. All right. Well, thanks very much indeed for that. Aris, are you there? And did you try Arch?
Yes. I'm happy to be here in this by the way edition of Biddle. I installed Arch twice. I installed it on a VM before I installed it on Metal, and that's what I'm running right now. I did the Plasma desktop command, and then I chose other packages I wanted with. Like, I don't like SDDM. I really don't like it. I prefer LightDM. So I made it so I don't use a display manager, and then I found out you can make it so you just log in and then it pops you into Plasma. You don't have to type in start X or anything like that. But I guess we could talk about the installer. I mean, there's no GUI, there's no graphics, 615 megabytes. Puppy did all this for 354, and there was a picture of a puppy on it.
And that makes it all better, dude.
But in no seriousness, I didn't like the installer for 2 reasons. One thing I appreciated is I have an external monitor, and it mirrors the image for the monitor, the external one that the laptop does. So I don't have to use the laptop for it, and I really appreciated that fact. I don't know if that's the installer or just because I were in like a command line interface, but either way, it worked for me. And I installed Arch through the Wi-Fi menu, so I used that, and that was pretty easy to get the Wi-Fi working. So I didn't use Ethernet. I think I learned some things, But I think it is true that the wiki is not a full information for like the installation part. There's a lot of sections that are missing. Like it doesn't tell you really like how to make a new user, that you're going to be in root, and all these things like adding yourself to other options for your user. It doesn't say any of that. So yeah, there's a lot more than just that installation thing. But I have enjoyed Arch. I haven't gotten around to actually configuring everything on my apps, getting everything working. But so far, I'm running Arch, and it's good.
Good, nice one. Dark
I messed up
one.
the user thing. I accidentally. Oh, sorry.
I should say again. I missed the first bit.
Oh, I messed up that exact thing he's talking about. I didn't realize I had to create a user, so I just ran everything as root. And I installed GNOME as root, and I ran it as a root. And I was wondering why everything was acting weird when I was trying to use the AUR. Because it doesn't accept root commands, it actually has a rejection in the code if you try to run it as root, which is kind of annoying, but it stopped me, so I guess it worked.
I guess that's a safety feature.
Yeah, it's in the, it's been a while now. It was make PKG, I think. The thing that lets you install AUR stuff.
Yeah,
or not AUR stuff, but the thing that lets you make packages.
So you can just run it as root. So make package build file can't run whatever it wants. So there is no viruses and stuff like that in it that would install, by the way, while you're making a package.
I mean, there's much easier ways to destroy my entire system, which is why I think it's silly, but I guess it's as easy as changing a few lines in the script.
I can destroy a system very easily, just so you know.
Yep, you and me alike.
Rocco, you can destroy a system just by trying to install it.
Pixel by pixel.
Wow.
Yep. All right, so Dark One, what esoteric piece of kit did you put Arch on?
And by the way, I am running Arch, sort of. I actually went the Manjaro Architect route. I am one of these that I like control as much as the next person. However, there's a certain level of I actually have a life.
Wow.
In seriousness, my thing is there's a certain level where I enjoy control as much as the next person, but I'm not in the mood to compile or configure X. I'm not in the mood to make sure I have just the right NVIDIA driver, or just the right piece of hardware selected, or just that's too much of a headache for my taste. So I went with Manjaro Architect. I find that to be the best way to give me the best of both worlds. And that's really what it was. It gives you a nice kind of ncurses installer basically, but it gives you enough control where you can pick the packages and the kind of stuff that you really want. So right now I'm actually running Manjaro KDE.
Actually, that Archfi script that Chris Titus talked about was really, really nice. And it gives you that type of install too. And that's an option as well.
Okay. I was going to say, I'll have to give it a look. Like I said, there's just a certain level of where like, I don't want to mess with the system.
Right.
I love telling it to, I only want these packages and that kind of stuff. I love that. But at the end of the day, there's a base system that I don't want to deal with.
Well, it's funny because if you're familiar with installing Arch, you're going to look at the Archfi script and see all of the things it's doing, and you're basically going to know what it's doing by setting the local time and all of this stuff. But it just does it for you. You just tell it what you want it to do, rather than you input the commands.
Exactly my point.
Yeah.
Time saver.
Yeah.
And if you want to take it just a level further up, try the Arch Labs installer, which is the ALI installer. And that way you don't have to worry about reading about setting your time zones and all the rest of it. You work through about 12 stages, and on each stage you pick the things that you want. And yes, if you watch the screen, you can see what it's doing, but other than that, you're wholesale a bit of that and do this and do that. And yeah, I found it really, really good.
I was going to say, I'll have to give that a try the next time I have to nuke and pave and look at going, because I'm pretty much going to be staying on Arch-based distros, I think, for a while.
Cool.
Very nice. All right, Tony, how are you, sir?
I'm good, thanks. And you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for being here, brother. I know it's late.
It's all right. It's something I look forward to every weekend, although not so much this weekend.
Did you try Arch, dude?
I spent a lot of time reading. I spent a lot of time watching videos and too much time trying to install it. And I gave up and cheated and went to try Arco B, which is easy to install. And if I was going to do Arch, which I have done in the past with Manjaro, I think I would go with that kind of an installer. This is just too much. It's beyond my capabilities. And I didn't want to waste people's time by asking for help, because I think we'd still be trying to get it working.
Well, there was many people that were willing to help. But like you said, I mean, if you don't want to do it that way, doing it the Arco B way is perfectly fine. So... But yeah, there were many people in the Telegram group who offered to help if it was needed.
Yeah, I appreciate that lots of people did offer to help, but I just felt I would be asking probably for more help than most people, and it would be tying people up, taking too much advantage of their goodwill. So I gave it a miss.
All right, EB, how are you, sir?
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, Rocco. Very, very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's late for you as well.
Yeah, very late, but worth staying up for the best Linux show on the internet, bar none, buddy.
I don't know. I think that was earlier on Zeb's stream when the Gentoo installed.
By the way, Zeb, just to let you know, I've just been introduced to a wonderful Gentoo guru, and he's got a base install script that will install Gentoo to a command prompt with everything installed in 15 minutes flat. Just so you know, I'm going to try and run it myself before I get a little bit too bolshy with you. You know what I'm saying? Just to let you know, dude.
Yeah, no, that sounds good. But then is that including a Threadripper and an RTX 2080 Ti?
Everything. But it drops you at the base, so you've still got to install the window manager and then all the bits and pieces you want. So it's just a basic. But it's
you let me know if it works, and I'll try it tomorrow, and I'll let you know if it works too.
Yeah, well, I might do a cheeky live stream, 15 minutes. You know what I mean? Install Gentoo in 15.
Sounds good. Anyway, Arch, you chap, get on with it.
Okay, so I am actually blown away by all the wonderful people on this show all talking about Arch Linux. It's very, very simple. There are only two ways to install Arch Linux. Number one for the newbies is using Arca Linux. Arca Linux is not just an Arch-based distribution. It's a complete introductory course to the world of Arch Linux. Number two, the second way of installing Arch Linux is the Arch way. Let me just state, every single Arch-based distro is not Arch Linux. The worst disservice anybody can do in the world of Arch Linux is to say, use XYZ installer, piece of cake. Yes, it's a piece of cake, and that will leave the user with an Arch Linux desktop that they have absolutely no clue what to do with. So let's take Arca Linux and compare it very quickly to Manjaro and anything else. So you start off on Arca Linux, you download and install the base Arca Linux ISO. It's exactly the same in principle as Manjaro. You load it up, you learn a couple of Pacman commands, you can use the distro, you can update it, you can install software. Fabulous. This is now where Arca Linux leaves Manjaro, Anthogos, and all the other type of Arch-based distros behind. Because if you follow through the course, what Eric Dubois is doing, unbeknown to you, is teaching you new skills, and in particular, one skill. And that one skill you will need to install Arch the Arch way. And that one skill is called thoroughness. Very, very simple. If you go to the Arch Wiki, you go through the steps, you start installing it, you get to step 10, choose your kernel. What do I want Arch Linux for? I want to be able to run games and do live streaming on my Arch Linux. So it says, okay, we're now going to install the kernel. However, please pay close attention to Amendment A, B, C, and D. Amendment A says, use the long-term support kernel because of this, because of this, because of this. Amendment B says, use the latest cutting edge. Amendment C says, you can use the hardened kernel. Amendment D says, if you're into gaming and streaming, use the licorice kernel. But because very few people on this earth have the ability to thoroughly go through something, we miss all that and we think, oh, I'm not reading all that, so I'll just hit the latest kernel on, which is really not fit for my purpose. That is the beauty of Arch Linux. It will take you through everything from scripting to basic Arch commands to building your own ISO. And in that process, unbeknown to you, you're getting a great grounding ready for when you install Arch Linux the Arch way. I can never ever see the point of installing Arch Linux, having an Arch Linux desktop, and then not having a clue how to maintain it, run it, use it, enjoy it, or operate it. What's the point? It's pointless. So I did a... Yeah, carry on.
I was going to say, I would have hated to have heard the long version.
Well, that was the short version. I tried to cram it in as quick as I could. But, you know, I mean, everybody, you know, bangs on about, I run Arch Linux. Who gives a shiny one? What, you run Sunshine? You run Arch Linux? Great. The new meme is, by the way, I run Debian. Debian is the new Arch. I mean, how much further are you going to go with it? At the end of the day, if you want an Arch-based distro, use Manjaro. If you want to learn about installing Arch properly and preparing yourself, use Arch Linux and then do a full install when you're ready of Arch Linux the Arch way. Job done.
At the end of the day, you should just run what you want to run. And if that's Arch, that's fine. And if that's Ubuntu, that's fine.
But Rocco, you can't do that. You can't run Arch Linux if you don't know what you're doing.
But most people won't run Arch Linux if they don't know what they're doing. When I say pick what you want to run, most people are not going to gravitate towards Arch if they don't know how to use it. Very few people will do that.
Well, go ahead, Bob.
No, I just disagree, because people use an Ubuntu-based distro when they don't know what they're doing. But they can fall the way through that because it's all pre-made and pre-built for them. Arch Linux.
That is true.
You know, Arch Linux, like Gentoo, like Slack, they are specialized enthusiast distributions. They're not for the masses. So I can sometimes agree and sympathize with the Arch enthusiasts with the RTFM comment. It's all there for you. You just need to be thorough. But because people are like water, they want the easiest path. It's, well, I'm not reading this. I'm not going to that link. I'm not going to do this. By the way, can anybody tell me which kernel I should use? Well, actually, if you'd have read the Arch Wiki, you'd know, wouldn't you?
Well, see, I don't have a problem with the RTFM type guys who are, when you're talking about a brand new person and doesn't know anything about Linux and wants to try Arch, yeah, you should know something about Arch before you try it. I have a problem with those RTFM guys when it's the person trying to learn about Arch Linux and without any helping of anything, the first knee-jerk reaction is RTFM.
Yeah, I get that. I totally get that, Rocco, and appreciate it. But then again, by the same token, had that user have not gone straight to the Arch Wiki and done it the Arch way, had he have spent 6 or 8 months going through the Arch Linux, by the time he landed on the Arch Wiki, he would be quite well versed and grounded in the basics of Arch. Just a point.
Yes, and I agree, but not everybody learns the same way. People
absolutely
learn differently. So some people may learn by the wiki, and some people may learn by Arco, and some people may learn by watching videos. So it's like, you know, I guess like I said, you should just probably run what you want. And if that's Arch, that's Arch, and if that's Ubuntu, stay on Ubuntu, you know?
That is just amazing. Amazing. Well, anyway, so I ran Arch Linux D, did an install, fantastic, had a nice base install. Or was it Arch Linux B? Or was it Arch Linux Build Your Own? Anyway, it was very, very good. So my next job, of course, is going to be a live stream of a Gentoo install in 15 minutes. Thanks, everybody. Cheers.
And we'll be there. We'll be there to put the stopwatch on.
Fabulous.
Colin,
Hey, Rocco, how's it going?
what's up, brother?
I've had a lot of fun this week, Rocco.
I watched your video. I know you did. So tell us about it.
Well, I started off with the Arch Wiki, and like I agree with English Bob what he's saying. You tend to go through the Arch Wiki and just expect it to be easy. But however, the Arch Wiki is very cryptic, I've noticed. And the information's there. You just need to learn how to find it. And I gave up on the Arch Wiki and went to a couple of videos. Zeb gave me a link to TechMint. That was helpful. I landed on a video that sort of helped me out. But my problem was my Toshiba laptop. It's got a problem with EFI. So I eventually moved to the desktop, and on the first time I had it installed. So I spent 6 hours last Sunday after the Biddle show trying to install on this laptop. And I just thought, it's got to be me that's doing it wrong. But however, I have managed to install Arch on the laptop, and that was in legacy mode. So that's my problem is probably the UEFI. So I've learnt over the week to love Arch Wiki. It's very cryptic, but what I've noticed is, and the trends that I noticed on the Arch Wiki is a lot of the things are links, but those links are also the commands that you need to run. And I didn't know that. I just thought they were there as links. They take you to pretty much nowhere. They take you to an Arch Linux and tell you about what that dependency is or that application is, has a small description, and you're just sitting there wondering what is this all about? No idea. But then after you spend a lot of time in there, you start to realize that that's the command you should be running. So it was quite an interesting week. And I thought, I'm starting to get the hang of the wiki. So I might even do another install. I've got Cinnamon running on this one, but the one I'm on today is the GNOME. And I found the GNOME desktop very easy to install, and it seems to run the better of all of them. Cinnamon, and one thing, if this is given me anything, is the appreciation of what what you take for granted, Rocco, is like I run Cinnamon Linux Mint. In Cinnamon on Arch, I've got to work out fonts and all that sort of thing. I take all that for granted, and then I start to think, what image viewer do I want? Because I now realise that all these things, I just use the defaults out of the box, whatever distro I'm running. So now I'm starting to think, what's a good image viewer? What's a good media player? I don't really take any notice of that thing because whatever distro I install, I just use what comes by default, really, at the end of the day. So that is a big learning curve. And fonts was a big learning curve for me. I cannot get fonts correct. I've changed all the fonts on the Cinnamon desktop. I can't get them changed on the panel and the menu. I've tried messing around with the CSS file, but I can't do it. So I don't know what the answer to that is. But they're the little things that you tend to take for granted when you're running Linux. And I kept going back to the Arch Wiki and looking at things there. And the more you keep going back, the more you sort of discover where things lead you and the information that it's giving you. So, yes, I agree. It's got a lot of information. You just need to learn how to find it. So, and I think I was looking for Easy Street on Arch Wiki, and it's just not going to work. You need to read. Yeah. So, and that's my honest opinion. And yes, I'm probably in the same category as everyone else. You want Easy Street, and because you go to TechMint and he's got it down. This is what you go through, and you follow it through, and you can install it. It's not a problem. But you go to the Arch Wiki, they don't have it set out that way. And like I said in my video, they have to cater and accommodate for all different types of laptops and hardware and all that. So I suppose that's why it's so complicated and cryptic because of that reason. So that's.
I have to say, Colin, it's also the Arch Wiki is not the most helpful in terms of language. There's like no struth, cobber. You know, you know, it's not. Could be a little bit more localized. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, crikey, mate, it's all over the place, to be honest. But I don't know why Arch Wiki doesn't have. Do they not set themselves up to have a simple run through like a lot of people do, or people just filter it out? Can't they do that? Or
I think there's so much information there, Colin, and it has to be there for all of the scenarios and possible ways that you need. I don't think there is a way to make it any simpler than it is, except for when you have a site like TechMint who will put all of this in a line for you and say, this is what you do here, here, and here. Yep. The problem is if TechMint doesn't have, or you need something specific that TechMint doesn't have, then you have to go find it. Then you're like in the middle of the Arch Wiki searching for something, and you haven't followed the steps from the Arch Wiki. You followed them from another site, and it gets really messed up, which is why you should probably stick with one and go with that.
I agree with that. You stick with one. Well, I looked at all of them. I sort of watched them, and then you go to the Arch Wiki, and then you find yourself, buried in all this information. And then, but the more people you watch, the more tutorials you read, and then the more you go through the Arch Wiki. And if you keep doing it over and over, and success is built on failure, what they say. So if you fail, you keep going back. You will succeed eventually. It's just that you've got to, be willing to go through it and want to learn. And I can be stubborn and never give up when I want to. So, it's just you've got to want to do it. If you're looking for easy street, it's not going to work. That's it at the end of the day. But look, at the end of the day, I got very frustrated, but also I enjoyed myself at the same time, and I'm a bit proud of myself that I installed Arch, because I didn't know whether it was within my capability. So I'm very happy with what I've achieved this week. So
cool,
it's been good.
Well done. Okay, Barbara.
Okay,
you try it.
I didn't install Arch. I kind of played with the idea of doing it, and I thought, no. I spent too many years having to deal with all the nitnoid things and all the fuss budget stuff of getting operating systems installed. And I said, nah, paid my dues. I don't want to do it. I commend everybody who's gotten it up and running. I really do. I think that's marvelous. Maybe someday when I want to kind of like lose 2 hours or 3 hours or whatever and never get them back, I might try it, but don't hold your breath. And I agree with everybody. Rocco's laughing. And I agree with everyone else. You use the distro that works for you. And I also agree that I don't think Arch is for Linux newbies. It's not for new users of Linux. It's for people who have a basic understanding of the file structure and bash scripts and all this other junk. They've been playing with it for a while. If you give it to a new user, they're gonna say, this is nuts. So, I mean, that's something that I don't think it is. Even if you went the Arco way, the Arco Linux, which I was just kind of like looking at their stuff, that might be the way I try it. But yeah, it's not for a total Linux newbie. If I said to any of my friends, here, install it, they would look at me like I had 7 horns and 13 eyeballs.
But even to take that further, what EB had said, it's you shouldn't even want to install Arch if you don't want to learn how to maintain it.
Exactly.
Because you're going to end up, you may have installed the system, but then you're going to end up with a system that's going to break and you're not going to know how to fix it. So it's kind of worthless.
Oh yeah, no, that's exactly it. I mean, you have to really want to do it and want to learn it. And I think that's who it's really for. And I give people who get it on their systems and use it, and those who use it on a daily basis, I give you guys a lot of credit. Meanwhile, I go back to Ubuntu Mate. Because I wanted to, if it upgrades and it updates, I want to know that it's still going to work. And can I feel that comfortable with Arch that that's going to happen? Not from everything I've heard over the years about it. So, You know, that to me is a big thing. It's got to be able, you know, do your updates and you still work. I mean, that's actually what kind of makes Solus really nice now, because I've been playing with that on one machine. It updates and it still works. So yeah, I'll stick with Ubuntu.
Cool. Thank you very much indeed.
You're welcome.
Big Papa Peppermint, how you doing?
I want to start out by saying, by the way, I use peppermint. Well, I did it. I went the Archify way, which really, when it came down to it, wasn't that much easier. Getting it started was, I did start trying to do it the Arch way, but unlike Zeb having someone kind of beating in his ear every time he made a mistake typing, you know, I'm like, wait, this is not working for me. So I remember Chris Titus talking about it last week, and I went and checked it out, followed the gentleman's video, which was okay. But actually, thankfully that week too, I think Chris Titus updated a video that he did on Archify script, and I watched that, and that was very helpful. Made a couple of mistakes, made a mistake of trying to install the NVIDIA drivers right away on here. Went to the flashing cursor in the upper left-hand corner. But through that, I learned how to get to the terminal and got back into root and fixed a couple of things. Kind of borked it again after I got a new phone. So like, okay, now I'll try to install NVIDIA. Nope, didn't work. Figured out how to remove NVIDIA. And so far, the last couple of days, you know, I've learned how to throw on some new icons, some new themes, got ICE working on it. It's not so bad. I don't know if I would really, you know, stick with it as a main production machine. It seems to be kind of fun. What interests me though is to be able to maybe install several different desktops, and instead of having different distributions and going that route, I might play with that and see how that works out. But you know, at first I thought, why waste a couple hours? Rocco, thank you. You were very patient and very helpful with your words on MeWe. But you're right, I didn't lose 2 hours. It was took me about 4 hours throughout the week to kind of get things running again. And so far, so good. I don't know what I'm doing.
But it's all a learning process, Steve.
Yeah.
And if you're willing to put that time in, that's great.
Yeah. So, I don't know if I would go back and try the Archway. It's just like Colin had said, it's just, there are a couple of steps, and if you missed them, and but going through the Archify way, still, I made some errors that way too. But I learned, and I remember my days back in messing with Windows in the early days, and it did me well to do research and help me find my stuff for this. So I got a nice looking XFCE Arch distro. I'm on it right now.
Wait.
Cool.
You said nice looking and XFCE in the same sentence, dude.
Oh yeah.
Just teasing.
Got the adaptive theme going. I installed Papyrus icon themes. It's looking nice.
Excellent. Good man. Okay. Cubicle Nate. What have we been doing this week with
So there's just this saying I've heard before: if you do not know suffering, you do not know happiness. And I would say using Arch was not happiness. So I do see the utility in Arch. I can see the the utility in learning how to put it all together, how the system goes, choosing the parts and bits that you want. I guess it's good that it's a rolling distribution. Not as good as some, maybe. What I don't like, I have a long list. So I think the Wiki. Now I'm not I'm not a Linux noob. I'm using Linux since 2002 regularly as my regular machine since 2003. I've been on Linux full time, so I understand how it goes together. I've not really gotten to the nuts and bolts, but I have played with Grub and all these other things. So I feel like the Wiki for the beginner's guide, like I should have been able to suss things out, no problem. Well, I think it was the most tedious and unrewarding experience going through that guide. I think it's very incoherently written. It doesn't really flow properly. It doesn't. It's Instead of giving you the answers there, it gives you a link, and the link gives you to a whole myriad of things that doesn't actually give you an answer, so you have to read through all that. So that was unrewarding. It's like spending all my time on all the uninteresting bits of an operating system. That's what it felt like. Pac-Man, I guess it's nice. I think that the syntax is terrible. It's not intuitive, but I mean, it works well. I can see it. I see how it works, but I think I don't think it's intuitive at all.
I mean, it's not zipper.
No. So again, that now like before I was kind of a zipper zealot. Now I'm really a huge zipper zealot because it's like zipper can do pretty much anything Pac-Man can do, but it makes sense. And then I don't have to memorize commands really. So it's like -s lowercase something else to do something else, which doesn't really make sense. Why capital S Y Y what why I don't know. So now I have run Arch but not where I build my own Arch. I've used Eric helped me out in getting Arch going, in which I got it all set up, and there wasn't like set up a user, which is like kind of silly. It didn't run me through that, or didn't kind of flag me for that. So I set all that up, and then I logged into Plasma and I had a blank screen, and I said, you know what? I'm done. So also I do keep an Arch on VM for testing when I test software, and I let one kind of get stagnant for a while, which I've done to Tumbleweed numerous times, OpenSUSE Tumbleweed. Arch is not resilient like Tumbleweed, that's for sure. It'll crap out on you if you let it go too long without updating it, because which I thought was, I mean, just like it forgot settings. It does all kinds of crazy things. So it's a good idea if you're going to use Arch. You have to really, really want to stay on top of it, I would say. Because you can't let that thing go stagnant. So now someone did say, I think Dan, you said it's like giving you a box of Legos, Arches. I think, did you say that? So I would say kind of. It's actually more like giving you some steel and a half-assembled CNC mill and some raw ABS plastic pellets and partially assembled injection molding machine, and say, here, go make your Legos so you can build something. That's what Arch is like to me.
It's even more than
I use right.
Really sorry. So I said, do forgive me, but I'm sure I just saw Toss do a massive yawn. I'm sure he's reading the Arch Wiki. I just put that in there. Sorry.
So I would say the Arch Wiki. I've used the Arch Wiki a lot for like getting things running to understand how bits of it work. But it's the beginner's guide is not written well at all. That's not a beginner's guide. That is a here you go. It's like playing 52 card pickup, and throwing it out there and saying, figure it out. That's what it's like. So I would actually like to try Arco Linux, but I will never touch vanilla Arch again. I will say that's a big giant next. I'll do Arch based stuff, but as far as like vanilla Arch, I'd rather spend my time with a toothbrush in the grout, kind of in the worst areas of a public restroom, than do Arch again. So wow. That's how I feel, and I'm Mr. Positive.
I was gonna say, Ed, you were worried about me being Mr. Negative.
So it's like stuff you take for granted. I installed a Pulse audio, but then I needed to install the Pavu control.
So I think what Nate is saying is that Arch is the next in line after Tumble.
Yes, I think that's what he was trying to say, Vash.
Barbara, I'm surprised you didn't install Arch Linux with Mate on the top. You like your Mate, don't you?
I do, but I don't. I just had nightmares about thinking about Arch. Going back to, I guess I was thinking of those times of installing operating systems in the dark ages of the last century. I don't want to go back there.
Wow.
That's an interesting point. It is, Barbara, because it's a little bit like watching me and or Zeb trying to install Gentoo. Pain doesn't even come into it, does it, Zeb?
Yeah. So I would actually want to know.
I would not install. I'm past that. I've done things like that. I'm done. I don't need to redo.
I don't mind fiddling a little bit to get something running, but I really want to know, for those people who love Arch, what am I really gaining with Arch that Tumbleweed, if you use Tumbleweed, that Tumbleweed can't do? I don't have to mess around with Tumbleweed. It just runs. It maintains itself, a quick zipper dup, and it rebaselines itself, and everything just works. I don't have to faff around or stay on top of it. It kind of like it works for me as opposed to me working like I don't want to have to put energy into my computer. My computer should be a force multiplier for me and getting my work done, not the other way around.
It's very simple, Nate. You're getting a streamlined operating system which is customized to your hardware and not including all the rubbish in the kernel that you don't need to run on your hardware. That's the beauty of Arch. Whereas your average everyday run-of-the-mill
OpenSUSE Tumbleweed.
You're not compiling your own. Sorry, you're not compiling your own kernel in Arch.
No.
I'm not saying you're compiling your own kernel. What I'm saying is you have the choice to select the best possible, without compiling, the best possible components of your operating system for your
that's
hardware.
fine. But before
you can do that
said
in
the best possible
You know
kernel.
what you're doing.
You can choose and pick your package. It's fine. Yeah.
On
Nate,
Debian.
Hold on.
To answer your question, Nate, the one advantage you're going to get is that all of the disparate software is gathered into one place, the AUR, where with OpenSUSE, you're still going to have to go to community repos to get some of the more oddball software. That's the only advantage you're going to have with Arch over OpenSUSE.
Oh, wait, I thought that the AUR was kind of like real dicey at times.
The Wild West?
Yes.
It can be.
I was going to say, yeah, but that's the Wild
Yeah,
West.
but it's a single repository rather than with OpenSUSE, you get individual members of the community having their own repositories for upkeep of certain oddball software.
Right.
Yeah, and then also if you'd like to manage a package by yourself in the AUR, you can just upload it to the AUR. But then with OpenSUSE,
I can do that in OpenSUSE. You can do that.
Right.
No, OpenSUSE will do it, and actually it'll do the testing. It'll do the testing and maintaining and ensure that it actually it's automated with OpenSUSE. So I don't actually have to. The workload is less. So it's like, what am I gaining with Arch over SUSE, OpenSUSE? I just don't see it.
Nothing.
That's the only advantage I found with Arch. I only have to go to the AUR. With OpenSUSE. Even this past week, I've had to install 3 different community members' personal repos to get certain software that I want to put on my system. Like UR backup isn't in the regular SUSE repos, so I had to go to a community repo. That's the only advantage that I have found in Arch over Tumbleweed.
The only other advantage is that you're not bogged down by that horrible OpenSUSE package management system, are you?
Yeah.
It's not horrible.
So, Nate,
I think he's egging you on, Nate.
No, once you get used to it.
That was trolling. I'm just gonna let that one go.
Nate, with Tumbleweed. Sorry, go on, Pizza.
What I was trying to say is that with the AUR, if you wanted to manage your own package on the AUR, you could just upload it to the AUR. But with OpenSUSE, you have to set up an entirely separate repo just for the package that you want to maintain. Yeah.
Okay. Well, look, we could discuss the relevance between OpenSUSE.
Pros and cons.
Yeah, but we are almost through the hour. We still got half people go. So, yeah. Wendy, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Nice to see everybody.
It's good to see you. You're back. Did you get to try Arch this week?
So I didn't install Arch from scratch. I've been running a version of Arch, Manjaro, on my main system since December. And so I was going to throw Arco on my laptop. It's got Optimus graphics. And other than Ubuntu, Manjaro is the only system that I've been able to get Optimus working properly on it. And I tried again today, and I spent the whole day being frustrated, trying to get the stupid Optimus graphics to work. So I'll share a link here in just a minute. In Manjaro, there is a very nice tutorial on how to get Optimus working. You still have to do some looking at on how to do certain things, but their tutorial is very concise and informative. The same one for the Arch Wiki is a disaster. I had 10 pages open and still couldn't find the stuff that I needed to get the Optimus working properly. So I'm staying with Manjaro.
Hey, that's okay. That's perfectly okay. Are you running Manjaro KDE or what is it?
Yes.
Okay.
So Manjaro KDE is running on my main system, and it's also running on my work fun laptop.
Nice.
I would also just like to add to that, because Wendy did admit that Manjaro with the Optimus drivers runs Plants vs. Zombies like you wouldn't believe.
Actually, no. That laptop will not run it for some reason, but my main system will. So yeah, I'm definitely one of those people who learns different. I need to see it and hear it in order to get something down. And then reading it from the Arch Wiki where things aren't clear just clutters things up and makes it all that more complicated than it needs to be.
Sometimes it can be. All right, Jonathan, do you got your sound working, sir?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right.
So, do you install Arch?
Not this week, but I've actually done quite a few times over the years. So I was just like, yeah. The very first time I ever installed Arch years ago was as a learning experience, and it was definitely one. So my wiki experience is pretty much how people have described. There was a really nice beginner's guide years ago. When I first installed Arch, it was back when they had the curses interface, if anyone remembers that. But I actually do like the bash scripts. That's actually not too bad. Yeah, AUR is pretty good. It has a lot of software in it. It's pretty easy to find what you need for the most part. I like it. These days, I don't really like to do things from scratch like I used to with Arch, but I still think it's a solid, robust system.
Very nice. All right, Chris, sir, you are up.
There we go. Trying to remember how to unmute this thing. Anyway, I've been having a ball this week with this. I've discovered I love doing this because I'm learning. I'm associating the stuff that I've been studying with my LPEC exams, and it's making a lot more sense on those exams what I'm doing. And it's actually been a really help. I mean, this is a challenge. It was a challenge, and I at the end of the day, I'm looking at that. I'm saying, I built this. I did this. I installed this, and this kind of the feelings I get with my ham radio stuff is like, I fixed this radio. I made this radio work, or it was my, I wouldn't say prowessness, but my ability as an operator to contact the station that's everybody else has been having trouble getting in contact with. So along with that, I wouldn't mind using this as a daily driver. Would I put it in my production? I don't know. I'm using Fedora as my production equipment for my users. I don't really care after the 18 months or 9 months putting a new version of Fedora up there. It's not that difficult, but this is going to challenge it only because I got I can put in what I want put in and take out or not put in what I don't want in there. So that's what I really found. What I did, I followed along with Luke Smith and with DT with Derek there, and they had two completely different philosophies on how to set this up. And of course, Derek was trying to do the GNOME. Yeah, he was installing GNOME live, and that was actually quite hilarious. We did get it installed, and I did install GNOME, got it working. Didn't like it. Basically, the older hardware just couldn't handle what GNOME was trying to do. So I've been during the or the talk tonight. I've been sitting here reinstalling Arch, and I'm going to see if I can get XFCE to work on it. See what it does, and then work on the next week's challenge.
Nice. Well done. Thank you very much. So, Dave, let me save you some time. Next,
yeah, I wouldn't touch Arch if you paid me. I support it enough on other episodes of Biddle. You guys don't need to hear me. I've run Arch on at least one machine in my house for years, and it's solid. It doesn't crash for me. I agree that the install guide is a hot mess, but I think that is a product of having been built over time, and they could put out a precise one, but it would take trashing the one that's there and redoing it from the ground up, and it's just not something that they've decided to put the time into. I always hunt and peck through the wiki to find what I need, so that's never been an issue. I've never tried to read it front to back. Having printed out and gone through the Gentoo install guide, I don't think the Arch one is that bad, but it's just what I've always run and been used to. Lately, Nate has gotten me back on OpenSUSE and running Tumbleweed. But to be honest, the only reason I stick with Arch over a Debian or Ubuntu derivative is that I like rolling releases more than semi-rolling or long-term stable. That's the only reason. There's nothing wrong with the others. It's just what I prefer.
Cool. Nice. Thank you very much indeed. So, Joshua, have you had time in your busy week from messing around with Cinnamon to try Arch? And what's the time in Switzerland on Tuesday of next week?
Okay, great.
Sorry, random comment, yeah.
Okay. I'm kind of tired, sorry. Arch is lazy. I didn't even test it. Too confusing. I found it a waste of time. I skipped it. And I don't regret my decision.
Yep, I think you made a wise choice there.
Too optimal. There's packages that make it efficient that everybody's probably going to forget. I would say that after using this for about a month, you're going to run into an issue. And, yeah. I think that very disappointing, overrated. By the way, I ignore Arch. That's all I have to say.
Nice. I like that. By the way, I ignored Arch. That's
Thanks so much for the resume on the Linux from scratch. Much obliged, Joshua.
I guess I am Dr. Random.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Stan. Sounds like you've used Arch before. Did you try it again this week, or? Stan the man, are you there?
Does this work?
Yes, it's working.
Hello?
Yeah.
All right. Arch was actually my first distribution. It was 2 years ago at this point. I think 1.5 to 2 years ago, I decided to ditch Windows for a reason I still can't remember. I wasn't even mad at Microsoft or anything, and I went and installed Arch. It took 4 days, and I failed the install 9 times, but I eventually got it installed into a GNOME. And I was on that for like maybe a day before I moved over to i3, because somebody told me i3 was really cool and I should use it, and GNOME was lame. And of course, since everybody that you listen to on the internet is always correct, I immediately listened to what they said and installed i3. But yeah, that was all like 2 years ago. I did install Arch for the challenge, or I tried to anyways, in a virtual machine, and it failed horribly. It didn't even get past the bootloader, because the virtual machine I use is some terrible one on OpenBSD that can't do graphics. And I only got to the bootloader where it had this really weird glitch where every character would repeat twice. So I was running AARRCCHHLLIINNUUXX on the XX88666644 architecture, which is a very good architecture, I can assure you. After I got to that, I tried to boot the thing. It was all extremely slow as well. If I tried to go up and down the menu, there was a good second of lag to do any action. And once I actually just tried to boot the thing just died and gave no error. I tried a few more things. I tried with no mode set. There was no change in behavior. I actually put a video of the entire process on YouTube. I linked it in the Telegram a while back. But yeah, it was a pretty nostalgic experience for me, remembering Arch. Would I go back to it? That's hard to say. Maybe if I mean, a lot of it's based on what's actually like the distro of the month or the year or whatever that's doing well, the one that's going to have the best maintenance by the community. Before like Ubuntu, it was Gentoo, and after Ubuntu it's Arch, and then it's Mint, and then it just jumps all over the place.
Stan, did you say you were running
to the more CLI stuff?
Did you say you were running OpenBSD? Is that what you said?
Yes.
Why?
It's got good documentation. It's not even really OpenBSD so much as security OSs. Security OSs have this thing where they have really good standards for reasons I can't explain. Alpine, I haven't tried Parrot OS, but Alpine and OpenBSD are both very similar. They both use very simple init systems, run on very few processes. It's good for somebody like me that likes that software minimalism, I guess you could call it.
He runs OpenBSD because Linux doesn't hurt enough for him.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's easier to install than Arch.
Good assessment.
Yeah.
Stan, can you just say how you pulse audio, buddy? Is it good?
Oh, sorry?
How's your pulse audio? Is it good?
I use SNDIO, but I also have Pulse installed. It does work pretty well, though, I think. I can't tell if it's working or not. Pulse is portable between platforms. I don't know if it works on Windows, but it works on other Nixes than Linux. So does SNDIO. They're all front ends to whatever the kernel is. In BSD, it's OSS v4, and in Linux, it's ALSA. In Mac OS, it's whatever they use. Never looked at it. Really weird audio server name, I know.
No, I just hear a lot of complaints about Pulse Audio on the BSD platform, full stop, irrespective of which flavor you're in.
Oh, you do? I haven't seen any, but maybe I don't hang out in those places. I don't know. I'm not like in the FreeBSD hates Linux community personally. There's a lot of FreeBSD users I see that really do not like Linux, and it's kind of in the same way I see Linux users not liking Windows or whatever. And I honestly find it kind of petty in a way. I mean, just use what you like.
All right. Cool. Thank you, Stan. I appreciate it. Big Pod.
Okay. Sorry, Big Pod. Before you go in there, I think Pizza Loving Nerd's got to go for his dinner soon. Can we jump down to pizza just quickly?
Sure.
Do it.
Yeah. Pizza.
Okay, so I did install Arch the Arch way, but I made a bunch of tutorials on alternative ways to install Arch. And the reason I use Arch is because, one, I like having the latest packages. Two, I really do like the AUR. Three, I like building my system from the ground up. It's just satisfying once you get your system working. And four, I can't get Budgie working on Tumbleweed. So those are my 4 reasons I use Arch.
Nate, that is your next thing.
Project.
Yes, thank you, Zach.
So
next project.
Actually, I was I was working on the Budgie install a while ago, but it's Budgie.
Yeah.
Why?
I think.
Wow, and 2 negatives in 1 week.
Wow, dude, what's
We gotta find a
happening to
third
you?
one, yeah?
I was going to say
it used to be really good. I used to really like Budgie, and then something happened. I don't know.
You couldn't get it installed on OpenSUSE?
Or he's been watching too much of my content because apparently he's got negative.
I know. You're rubbing off on him, Matt. All right, Pizza, do you have anything else, sir?
Well, my first time installing Arch, I installed it in a VM as a challenge on a live stream that has since been deleted, and I actually succeeded in installing Arch. And then I was like, I might try it on my main system. And then I've grown to, after trying it on my main system, this was like a year ago, I'd say. Or actually, I think it was mid-2018. Yeah, so around a year ago. After trying it on my system, it just grew on me, and it was I just fell in love with Arch.
Nice. Thank you very much. Go and enjoy your dinner.
Thanks.
All right, Big Pod. Now it's your turn, brother.
Okay, it's time for the Arch lover. Arch is the best, in my opinion, the best distro. I started using it soon after I became full-time Linux user, and it just works for me. I never had any problems that weren't caused by me. Most of the time, I do something wrong, and then everything breaks. Installation itself is, in my opinion, easy, but I will beat Zeb to it and say I'm a bit of an advanced user. I study IT, so that's the thing. Then,
but you're able to fix your Arch install when you have an issue with it.
Yeah, either I fix it or reinstall it, depending on how much I give a damn. And nowadays, when I'm actually installing stuff, I more or less go for the Arch-D install, which is basically Arch Linux Archway just with Calamaris installer. Mainly because I'm not bothered with Archway install, even though I can probably do it just as fast, if not faster, than Calamaris.
But you prefer the GUI?
Yeah, if not for anything else, for the fact that I can press a couple of buttons and stand up and go do something else.
All right. Anything else you want to add?
Arch is awesome. By the way, I use Arch.
All right. Paul, sir, how are you?
Arch is the best distro. I agree with Big Pod. It's so you can build it from the ground up, make it. I learned Ubuntu, about a year ago, and about 6 months ago, I started with Arch, and I haven't looked back. I haven't switched distros or anything.
Really?
It does everything you need to do, And so, yeah, I am definitely an Arch lover.
Nice. Frank, how you doing? And did you install Arch?
By the way, I run Buster.
Had to get that in there, do you?
I had to get it in because I just installed it during the show. So I did install Arch, the Archway, and I think we helped a couple people this week, and I think it was Bash, Dan, and myself were working with JJ after the show last week. And one of the coolest things that we found out is we actually found an issue with GNOME disks and their networking setup. So that was kind of neat.
GNOME boxes, right?
Yeah,
GNOME boxes. I'm sorry, GNOME disk. Yeah. My brain is fried. Too much love in the air today. So what do I have? I have notes. The Arch Wiki is awesome. It is great, and that is total seriousness.
Sorry, did you say the Arch Wiki was awful? Because I agree.
Awesome,
yeah.
awesome.
Oh,
no,
awesome.
He said awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I'm not done yet, Zeb.
I misheard that. Sorry.
So the next bullet point is the Arch Beginner's Guide / install guide is terrible. If you follow it, and even if you're like an average Linux user, you are going to run into issues. It is not done correctly. We posted a couple links during the week of install guides that are text that are so much better, and it's still the Arch way. And one of my problems is everybody says you're going to learn all this stuff about your computer by running Arch. No, you're not. You're going to copy and paste what you see written on a website into your installer and run it. And maybe you're going to see that you have to do SDA1 or all this stuff, or you're not really learning all that much unless you really get into it, because you can go through the install and not learn a darn thing. So I like Pac-Man, I do, but the honest thing is I think Manjaro is a better choice, and especially if you do Manjaro Architect, you're going to get very much a text-based system that you'll learn, and you'll set up your system with what you want. And at the end, I really don't see why you would, I don't know, I don't really get the whole hype when you have good stuff like Manjaro or even something like Salient. I don't see going through all the pain and suffering to do this. I really don't. And I don't really think at the end most people really learn all that much. Yeah, there are people like DOSGeek who really learn something by doing Arch, but I don't think a lot of the people that run Arch, they run it because it's the cool thing and you're in a cool club. And
yeah, it all depends on the person, dude. It depends on how much you want to learn. You can learn a lot by doing the Arch install, but as you said, I totally agree that you can copy and paste your way through the install and not learn anything either. So,
and by the way, I have never been cool, even though I run Arch.
I was going to say, just out of curiosity, so that's what Ryan did. He just copy and pasted because we all know he doesn't read the manual.
Oh, wow. Shots fired on that one.
But he wasn't here to hear the shots.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
Oh, it's Dark One. I'll make sure he gets the message.
That was the shot heard around the web.
So
You have to say his name 3 times.
Since we brought up Ryan, should I talk about the coffee in Linux where we decided to install Arch for somebody and the issue they ran into really quick?
After we get through the distro, you can
go for it.
More than happy to do that, Vash.
Okay, Toss, welcome. Long time no see, my friend. Did you do Arch? And you're muted.
Wait, what? Are you talking to me?
Speak for him.
No, it's all right.
Oh.
Talk to Toss. Look, it's that long since he's been on here, he's forgotten how to set it up.
He made fun of me yesterday because of Arch and my sound. So back at you, pal.
The AV issues all get to us eventually.
Yeah. Yeah.
We move on, shall we?
Mm-hmm.
He's running Arch.
Adam, my friend, how you doing? Eric, Adam.
That's okay.
Eric.
I
just looked down.
There's an Adam in there.
It's late, and he installed Gentoo today, so you got to forgive him.
Zeb, I was there with you for all but maybe 40 minutes of that, so you're a trooper. I would have given up well before you did. Anyway, I'm not going to take a lot of time. We're running late. I have a couple thoughts. One is anything that's on a live instance or a live install CD should automatically be installed by default on the base core of what you're installing. The fact that I use Wi-Fi to install and they let me reboot into a new system without the components to connect to Wi-Fi really cheeses me off. I mean, you can use Wi-Fi.
What you're talking about.
You can use Wi-Fi menu on the boot disk, and then you boot into the new environment. Oh, sorry, you need display. Except you can't install it because you can't get to the internet. So now you have to reboot, to root back in, reinstall. I mean, you can fix it. It's not that. It's just stupid. Why is it so esoteric and difficult? Like the answers are there, but it's like a puzzle. If I want to do puzzle, I'll go play Sudoku or get a crossword. Like I want to put together a system. I love the Arch Wiki. It helps me literally on an almost daily basis with any distro I'm running because it is a very comprehensive explanation of individual things. But in terms of putting those things together in a holistic way to give you a user experience of like, how do I do this? And, you know, maybe I'm an experienced user, I just don't know Arch. You know, years ago, there was the install guide that everybody has seen this week, and then there was a beginner's guide that sort of went along with that, that walked you through a little more. I've been unable to find that. I don't know why it's there anymore. Anyway, I'm not going to belabor the point. I don't dislike Arch. I think it's a great system. I don't agree with EB. I think Manjaro and other the offshoots are a good way to package those. I agree that if maybe someone who doesn't know what they're doing installs it and then kind of gets into trouble, it might be a little difficult for them. But there's a reason that Ubuntu repackages the Debian. There's a reason that Manjaro repackages Arch. It's a great system, and Manjaro makes it accessible, simple, and easy to use. And that's my take.
Okay. Toss, you got your audio working or no? No.
No.
Nothing yet, brother. All right, James.
What's up, guys?
What's happening?
Oh, nothing much.
Good to see you, brother.
Yeah, well, you can't see me.
Well,
I lost
mean,
my webcam. I don't know what I did with it.
Figuratively.
I have lost my webcam. Anyway, so my first foray into Arch was years ago on a MacBook. Enough said. It was really bad. It was not a good experience. And I will just echo what Obstinate stated previously. I love it. It's awesome. You should totally keep that. It was the best one, Obstinate. Anyway, so yeah, I'm not a fan of Arch for a number of reasons, but the notion that you can learn something by installing Arch, that's not true. Like, you can learn about your system by installing any distribution. You just have to dig in there, you know. And package managers are package managers. They just are what they are. I use so many different types of package management systems at work and at home, and you know, just ins and outs with all of them. And you know, you guys all know I'm a Solus fanboy.
Mhm.
Love Solus. I think it's the best rolling distro out there. I know it's got its shortcomings, but I just love it. I love how lean it is. So if I was going to pick a rolling distro for anyone to use, it would be Solus. Matter of fact, I have my 65-year-old mom running it. So, but just to get to the point that is outside of the point we've all been making, has anyone tried Canonical Live Patch? Because it's awesome. You should totally try it out. It's great. You never have to reboot. That's all I have to say. Thanks, guys.
Awesome. All right. We are way over time, but Ben, go ahead. You are
You need to
muted,
unmute
sir.
yourself, my friend. Yeah. That's
Okay,
it.
how about now?
Go ahead, brother.
Okay. By the way, I do run Arch as my daily driver. The same install on this system I installed back in January. It's still up and running just fine, despite it being a rolling release and whatnot.
Have you had many times where you had to fix it?
Not really. Not with like the core components of it. The only time I ever had an issue with Arch was about 4 years ago when I first started getting started with it, and I had a laptop with a chipset, Broadcom chipset in it, and that was a nightmare because they couldn't patch the driver fast enough for the next kernel update. So every time I get a kernel update, the next reboot will be a kernel panic. And so I just never bought a laptop with a Broadcom chipset again. I've never had that issue again. And a couple days ago, I did a live stream where I installed Arch on my other system. Went through the steps, just to show that it's not difficult. It's not as hard as people make it look. And I rebooted it. I don't know how well the live stream went. The initial setup went. The live stream health was pretty bad on that one, but no, I mean, I like Arch. I like the centralization of all the software, the AUR, the repos. I like the idea of a rolling release because I don't have to wipe my system every 6 months to install the new version. I liked that it was matter of fact, it was what got me hooked on it was the first distro that didn't give me strange dependency issues when I tried to install things. And like it was just like the installation process was a pain, and I think that there are things in the Arch Wiki, the installation guide, that are easily missable links that should be front and center. And so when I did my install, I showed up the guide that got me through the first time I installed Arch in an EFI system, a UEFI system. It was a guide from a guy named channel called The Glorious Egg Roll. And people who watched the stream saw me. I went through his more so his guide than the Arch Wiki. And I kind of diverged a little bit. You know, we all have our own ways of doing things after we did it a few times. But I did show that it's not as hard as it looks. You know, you can say by the way too. Yeah, so
good.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Arch rocks.
Okay, I think we might have, hang on, someone on the other screen.
Yep.
Yes, Mark. Welcome, Mark. And did you try Arch?
Hey, thanks for having me. It's been quite a while since I've tried Arch, but you know, I have in the past. I've always run into the situation where, you know, a lot of people have, where 2 to 6 weeks in, I run an update and it just crashes on me. So, you know, I've gone back to other distros. I'll tell you, I've been on for a few months now, Fedora, and I love it. It just seems to be the perfect mix for me.
Nice.
Very nice. All right, Toss, last chance, brother. Get in on Arch. Nothing, brother. Nothing.
See, if he was on Arch, he wouldn't be having this problem.
See?
Or if he is on Arch, that is the problem, because he probably got to install.
No, still nothing there, mate. It's going to be in your Zoom settings. Are you using the client or the web? C or W?
All right.
Well, I think that was a forget about it.
Yeah, it was.
Only I can't do it as cool as he does it.
Well, that is our take on Arch Linux. And all I can say is that Arch is not for everybody. It is a great place. I believe it is a great place to learn about your system. If you want to learn about your system. If you do want to learn about your system, it's a great operating system to run, but you have to be willing to maintain it. Otherwise, you probably shouldn't run it. But I will go back to saying that you should probably run whatever it is you want to run and not worry about by the way comments and everything else. And people talk about, you know, I run this, and by the way, I run Debian, Bill. You should just run whatever it is you want to run and be happy with your computer.
Well said. Well said.
Absolutely.
Agreed. Yeah, I hope you like my nickname.
Yeah.
All right.
Here. You can do anything with any distro. Just put in the work.
Yep. Well, you know, James had said it right. You can learn on any distro. You may learn, I mean, if you're willing to, you may learn more on Arch, but you can learn on any distro. I mean, take even Solus. Solus doesn't even use apt or the different, I mean, it uses its own package system. You could be learning a whole new package system if you wanted to. So there's plenty of opportunity to learn if you want to.
Well, I've learned that some distros don't put files in the same place because, like, some other distro, I think it was Debian I was running, and I was like, oh, I know where this file is, and I go and because I put it there manually on Arch when I installed Arch, and I went to look for it. It wasn't in the same spot. I forget what it was, but
that depends on a few different things. There is a package in Debian called base-files, and that file dictates how your file system is supposed to be laid out as far as like the root structure and what files are supposed to be there.
Is this going to have anything to do with the low latency kernel?
No.
Okay.
No, it will not.
I hope so.
If you want me to get into it, I can relate it to that.
Arch has the same thing though. When you cheroot in and bootstrap it in, you put in base and base devel and
yeah.
Mhm. But I think what Thomas is saying is that there's an actual config file that lays out where it all goes, and it might be different from the way Arch does it. Is that what you were talking about? Yeah.
Kind of. There is a specific deb file, and when you install that deb file, it puts the folders there.
Right.
And that's what does that. So when you make that ch root, that is the first file that goes in every single time.
Matter of fact, the file was the ZSH RC, the ZSH config file in Etsy. In Arch, there's a subfolder in Etsy called ZSH, and then the ZSH RC goes in that folder. But I think in Debian, or it was a Debian basis, I forget what it was. They put the ZSH RC right in Etsy.
Yeah, that might be what they did. Was they made a ZSH .rc folder or something like that, and you can put other config files in there, and ZSH will read all of those. I have seen that done with some other apps, but it's not very common. But there are other things that dictate as far as like your file system layout. LSB release is vaguely related to that, in that there's like a sort of council kind of thing. I don't think I'm using the right word here, but it's kind of like that. And in order to get on there, you have to follow certain file system layout things, and Ubuntu and Debian and Arch are all on there, so they have similar layouts to an extent. It's weird.
All right. Well, we have to pick a distro to try next week.
Divine Buster.
I thought it was a given to do Debian.
Yeah.
The new Debian release.
Hey, I got to bring it up. So if you want to vote for Debian, that's fine.
Yeah, I'll vote for Debian.
Debian.
10.
Yeah, Debian be
As
good.
much as I want to do Draugr OS, we're doing Debian.
Hey, I'm okay with Debian. So if anybody
let's follow
else
Zeb and do Gentoo from scratch.
Are you crazy?
I thought that was a given.
That will be next week.
Are there any other suggestions besides Debian?
Nope.
Debian.
It sounds like someone's going for puppy.
We already did
that. Not my dog.
Taco, is it
My
straight up
dog's
Debian,
coming
vanilla Debian, or one of the Debian versions? Like I can't remember the name of it. Solid XK or something like that.
Pure Debian.
Straight Debian. I think it should be pure Debian because
Debian,
we would probably try those on our own, when they come around. So like MX or Solid X or whatever, we would probably give those a try, and regardless. So I think a pure Debian would be great.
Okay, stable or what?
That I think could be your choice, if you ask me.
Right.
That will be down to your hardware, because there's no way I could use stable.
Exactly, I
It
did.
just wouldn't work. Hey, Gentoo doesn't work anyway, but that's another matter.
That's the loosen up between the seat and the keyboard.
Well, is the point to review Buster because it was released, or is this just whatever?
Yeah.
I thought so.
Yeah, Buster.
Yeah, we should go Buster.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. We should.
No, I just didn't know. I mean,
well, I mean that is the
probably
point. If we're
That's
doing
right.
it because of Debian, we should do Buster.
well, yeah, Zeb's gonna have a problem with that unless you use one of your laptops or something. Zeb.
No, I'll give it a go.
Okay.
From the command line.
Somebody should try to install Debian doing the Arch way of things.
No, I agree that it should
Because
be
it can't
Buster.
be done.
Yeah.
It's not 1995.
Thanks, Thomas. Appreciate it.
If you want to,
that end cursor's
I would
installing
do
my
it.
say otherwise.
right? If you want to be nostalgic, you can get their server installer, which is in ncurses. So,
All right.
Someone post a link for where to find Buster.
Yeah, somebody can. Vash, do you want to go into that whole DOS Geek story now?
Yes. So we're installing Arch for somebody. They decide to use the Archfi install, right? And it works fairly well. We found a couple of minor weird things with it, and so they talked about that. But what got us is at the end, they went to log into this person's user, and it immediately kicked them right back to the login screen. When they created the user, they forgot to create the home directory. So everyone needs to bug Ryan about that. They totally forgot the home directory flag.
Oops.
Way to go, Mensa user.
Yeah. Way to go. Hey, look, that's how you learn, man. I mean, those things happen, and they sound like really embarrassing, and it would be really embarrassing, but I mean, those things happen, and that's how you learn.
Yeah, I just have to occasionally give Ryan or somebody a hard time. So,
well, that won't stop me from giving him a hard time about it. I'm just saying.
Rocco, are you saying you're going to troll Ryan?
I don't know. I may. Hey,
you're taking over my job.
I want to throw something out there, and it may not be new to some of you guys, but it's new to me. It was brought up on Destination Linux this past week, I believe, with Noah's website that he's starting with linuxdelta.com. I don't know if anybody has tried it yet or looked at it. I'm going to post.
I have.
I'm going to post a link in the YouTube chat so that you can go check it out. And basically, what this is this is a place for people to go to find information about distros they want to use. So if you're unsure how this distro is going to be for you, you can go here. And you can click on Arch, or you can click on Debian or OpenSUSE, and real people are going to be giving their real reviews on that distro. So what do you guys think of this idea?
That is awesome, because trying to, as much as I love YouTube reviews and all the other, first looks and whatever you want to call them, I think these kind of things, seeing people actually take the time to actually write stuff, has a little more meaning sometimes than just doing a 20-minute video on, a VBox install.
Yep.
And just going through the menus to see what's installed.
Yeah.
Rather than actually using it.
I think this is a great idea.
Well, you can bring up DistroWatch, but DistroWatch doesn't give you like the real world view of what that is, the ratings that they have on this system, on this website. Zeb, do you know if there? I mean, I didn't try to look too deep into it, but do you know if there's a system in place that? I mean, obviously, you may have trolls trying to put reviews on that site. Is there a system in place for that, or no?
I'm not 100% sure because I haven't delved into it completely, but I can certainly find out for you from Noah. The frustrating thing for me at the moment is when we was looking at this on Destination Linux, there was a very nice submit your distribution.
Mm-hmm.
It's gone. I can't see it anywhere on the website.
No, it's not there.
They're still working on it, or how you try to get something on there. But I can't for 1 minute think that somebody like Noah is going to allow this to denigrate into, Archie's crap, Debian's the best, Peppermint's great. So there will be some sort of moderation going on. Whether they do it along the lines of, I guess, like a Wikipedia, whereby you can become a trusted user so that your reviews will automatically be accepted, or whether everything will go through. Okay, you've posted this comment, let's just read about it, make sure there's nothing offensive or trollish about it, and then we'll place it on. It's actually a very, very good question, and I'll see if I can get the answers for you guys.
Yeah, I didn't hear him bring that up, but I mean, he brought up the fact that you would have to get your distribution. Say your distribution that you want on there is not on there. You would have to get that distribution to submit a request to them to be put on there, so that it's not just a free for all. Hey, put this on, put that on, and also because there's logos involved and everything else, copyright
and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, or intellectual property right, really. Yeah.
So, any other comments on it? Good idea, bad idea, what?
I think it's a great alternative.
It's a great idea.
I think it's a great alternative to
the idea. I think he needs an About Us page. Like just a little link up in the right-hand corner or somewhere like that says About Us or about Click on that, gives a short description for those who don't know what the website is, who stumble across it.
Yeah, because I honestly agree with that quite a bit, because I didn't know. I actually saw it somewhere outside of the context of Destination Linux, and I didn't know who had put it out. And I thought, I don't know who this is. I don't trust it. I don't,
Okay, so we know
Yeah.
we now know it's Noah. So any of these suggestions, can you hit him up on the Destination Linux Telegram and just drop him a PM about some of the things that you think? He'll probably kill me for this because he's going to have thousands of people now PMing him. But I think it's the easiest way until he comes up with another little thing on it that says, "Oh, yeah, don't do Telegram anymore. You can now use this for suggestions and stuff." But it is still in its infancy. They've spent an awful lot of time getting what they've got ready so that it looks right and works right, and now they're just putting the finishing touches on. But yeah, like everybody here, I think it's going to be a great place to go as an alternative to DistroWatch, because at the moment there's 20 distros on there. It's going to take a little bit of a while for all of the other distros to go on and for people to write reviews about them. But I think it was Dark One that said the thing that I'm going to like about it most is it's real world people's reviews, not just someone who wants subscriptions on YouTube or whatever. And I think it's going to be really, really good for that.
Yep. I think.
Can I say that I added a link in the Zoom chat that has the proprietary non-official Buster image, just in case anybody has problems, because you're not gonna get anything for your Wi-Fi or stuff like that. So these images do include like that firmware.
Yeah, and it's not non-official. It's just that it's non-free. It's because Debian's whole thing is free, but they do publish a CD including firmware. Which last time I tried to install it, I didn't realize at first and had no fun on a laptop.
Aris, that link is not working for me, brother.
What you have to do is add plus non-free onto the end of his link, and it'll take you there.
Okay.
I also put up a link that has, and it's for
The basic ones.
all the different desktops that they've got for it. So choose your desktop.
Yes, thank you, Barbara.
Oh, you're welcome. Thought that would be helpful.
So it'd be nice if we can contribute to the project, Patreon, whatever. Maybe even suggest what operating systems we can add on there.
Are you talking about Linux Delta, Joshua?
Yeah.
That's actually not a bad idea to have the donation page for that particular distro on there, a link for it.
Unfortunately, I basically probably won't be able to write down Ubuntu Cinnamon reviews. I'm not going to anyways.
All right. Before we move on, anybody have anything they want to bring up?
Debian 10? Or Debian?
Well, we're going to try that this week, but... All right. What does everybody think about Mozilla and their basically subscription plan to offer ad-free browsing?
I understand why they're doing it, in that as a non-profit organization, they need some way to bring in money, and not enough people are donating. Like when you have a non-profit, nobody ever donates enough. As I'm a Boy Scout in the United States, so I can tell you right now, I deal with fundraising every year, and I can tell you right now, every year they come short. And Mozilla is probably no different. So I can understand why they're doing it. If I'm not mistaken, there is like a way you can try these things out as like a trial run, which I like personally. Honestly, as long as the code is still open sourced, I see no issue with it.
I was gonna say,
Isn't it also that they're going to include in that subscription fee, like a VPN? Was I mistaken on that or not?
I think they're planning on adding it in later.
Okay, that's what I thought I read.
I think they're slowly building it out.
Right. This particular piece is $4.99 a month. to have ad-free browsing. They did talk about the VPNs and stuff, and that's going to be added on later. But I mean, I don't necessarily have a problem with paying $5 a month to get ad-free browsing. But I guess my question is, does that include all ads, or is that only including ads that are affiliated with certain companies? Like, I know they have a certain amount of companies that they're working with.
You mean like Google blocks most ads except the ones that work with them?
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying. Is it going to be something like that, or is it going to be some ads get through? Because I don't want to pay $5 a month then to have ads come through, or certain ads come through.
In other words,
I almost don't.
Is it going to be like a ad block whitelist kind of thing?
Right.
Well, you're always going to have some ads that are
ads
just because of the way they work. But
I don't know. You
Not
block
bad.
Origin pretty much kills everything.
It does.
Yeah, I was going to say
even
there's
websites
some
sometimes.
ads out there that can get through. There's probably almost none, but there's probably one or two out there that could get through.
I don't have a problem with ads. I just have a problem with annoying ads that like block your screen with things. I mean like little ads on the side or on the top or whatever. That's fine. That's whatever. But it's when you have annoying ads, that's when it's a problem. Otherwise,
You have to click X. You have to click
somebody.
X.
Yeah,
I
man's
agree.
gotta-
I agree, Nate. It's the same way on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
When you have a little ad on the bottom of an app, I don't mind that. But when you got a full screen ad that you can't get out of, and you got to wait a certain amount of time, that's ridiculous.
Right.
Yeah, anything that moves, I think, should be sort of the line, right?
If it moves, kill it.
Well, full screen and then full screen, and then like if the ones that embed a video, and then as I scroll down, that video follows me. I want to find whoever came up with that. I know that they're doing their job, and that's what the marketing department wants. But man, so anyway, I you know what, Firefox offering, and that's what it is. It's an offering. It's not a paywall. It's nothing that like they're saying, oh, if you want to look at how Google's treating Chrome, and now they were trying to pull out the ability to maybe do some of the ad blocking and things. This isn't Firefox saying that at all, or Mozilla saying that at all. They're just saying you can still go get whatever ad blocking extension you want, but we're going to offer you a seamless sort of integrated way to do that. Oh, and by the way, you can be supporting your browser choice as well. From that perspective, I'm totally on board. $5 a month. Look, I use my browser more than probably any other program on my computer, right?
Yep.
And I trust them to be doing the things that are in my best interest. Do they make the best decisions all the time? No. No company does. Nobody's perfect, but I think they have their users' interest at heart instead of their own profit motive. And for anyone who's cynical about this and saying, oh, well, it's a way for them, they have to make money. It's the only way they can survive.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say I agree, because basically they're reliant on other search engine companies. No comment. They need another source of income when 80% probably of your money for as your non-prov is coming from your competitor, essentially.
Right. Well, and I'll just say this too. So on the 4th of July, and I'm not trying to be like cheesy about this, but I was honestly thinking about how much I love open source, how much I get out of free software and the freedom to use the software I want. And I looked at Mozilla and I thought, I've used Firefox forever and I've never once donated. Right, to Thomas's point, like you just don't even think about it. Like I've used Firefox for 15 years, 20 years, and never given them a dime. And I thought, you know what, I'm just going to pledge $5 a month, $60 a year, and I'm just going to do it. It's a cup of coffee a month. And I just think if more people thought of it that way, like, is this useful to me? Who's behind this? How are they supporting this? And if everybody gave that, like the Wikipedia thing that they do, where it's like, if everybody gave $1, like we'd be swimming in money with all the page views we get. So
this honestly, is not available yet.
Like,
just to make everybody aware, this is not available yet. This is what they're looking at. It's in a beta form, so the links are there, but it takes you to a page where it's not available yet. And JJ asked in chat about, is there a yearly subscription purchase option, and not as of yet. So Thomas, go ahead.
Go ahead.
can I just bring to people's attention that we're saying that they're probably short of money, but in 2013 they brought in £314 million revenue from the browser. Why do they need money?
Yeah, well, I think Eric was saying that that's from like search engines and including Google and trying to divest themselves from being tied to Google is probably a good thing.
I was gonna say they're basically trying to diversify their income sources as opposed to basically, hey, Google gave us a chunk of money here.
Right, and Firefox is only
And it
part
really
of
is
the,
actually good value.
Well, my question is, okay, so if that's the case, but my question is, do you think that having this service would allow them to get out of that whole Google deal, or is this just going to be added onto it?
Just added onto it.
I don't think it'll be entirely. I think
It's a start.
A way for them to start. Yeah.
and it's also a way
and
for
also-
them to show a premium side of this, right? Sorry, Thomas. Like, if you want people's money, as people have found out with Patreon and other types of sponsorships, you have to ask for it. And if they're going to be upfront and say, not only are we going to ask you for money, but we're going to try to give you something of value in return beyond the work that we've already done, that's a really smart play, in my opinion. It's not just asking. This is, we're going to try to do something a little more interesting, and maybe people will be willing to pay for it.
I was gonna say they're doing a value add, basically.
Right.
Rocco, my question, because you use PIA, right?
Yep.
If Firefox came out with a VPN, would you use that over PIA?
I believe they're going with Proton VPN, and I personally, again, VPNs are very specific to each person, and you have to trust. At least, okay, obviously everybody knows that nothing is completely 100% secure, but you have to trust the company to a certain extent with your information. Do I trust Proton? Yes, but I have seen a track record with PIA that I don't think I would go away from.
Mm-hmm. So, Big Pod.
If Firefox doesn't force ads on me on normal browsing, on when I open up anything, if they force ads, then I will switch off. If they don't force ads, I don't really care. Truth be told, I don't care if unless they force ads on me. Then I guess Google will get another customer.
Mm-hmm.
Thomas?
Another way to look at this is, so if I'm not mistaken, a standard Netflix subscription is somewhere around $7 to $9 a month. A Firefox subscription is $5 a month. I guarantee you, if you use Firefox more than you use Chrome, like if you use Firefox as your main browser, actually, you use Firefox then more than you use Netflix. Therefore, you're getting a much better value, even if you're just getting raw Firefox, just like normal Firefox. Because
But if you use Netflix on Firefox,
then okay, fine.
But the idea is somebody would counter that.
Pay for it. My mom pays for it.
Somebody would counter that, Thomas, with I use uBlock Origin or one of these other ones to block ads anyway. Why do I need to pay $5 extra to do it?
Then you don't have to. It's entirely optional.
And it saves you the headache of tracking down the extension and installing it and upkeeping it. And
especially if you have somebody who is moving from a Chromium-based browser to Firefox, if they just went straight to the Firefox Premium thing, they don't even have to worry about that ad block extension that they use being in Firefox, because not all extensions are on both platforms. So they can just go use Firefox Premium and boom, that part's taken care of. So that saves them that headache.
Barbara, what do you think?
I think I just totally zoned out at this point.
It's okay.
Sorry. No, but I think.
Would you pay $5 a month for an ad blocking service from the browser?
Well, considering I'm using an ad blocker now, probably not, because I also use PIA as my VPN.
Yep. I'm sorry. I mean, I love the idea of Firefox doing this because I think it's I think there's a lot of people that will benefit from it. But again, I'm not going to switch from a company that I do trust to a certain point to something else just because it's bundled into Firefox or anything like that. So
that's exactly how I feel. And the other thing is I'll, donate some money to Mozilla, as opposed to spending the $5 every month, because after a while you're paying this and this and this, and most people have only a certain amount of money. So I would rather, donate to a project that I'm using.
Well, that's
I use Firefox, by the way, guys.
That's another thing to look at is, we always talk about donating money to projects that you use, but obviously you only have so much money to go around. So you donate to the ones that you use the most, or you feel you want to donate to the most. And, but you can't donate to everything out there. So that's also a consideration.
So I haven't looked into it too much. What I'll find interesting is if they're doing it including the mobile browser, because to me, mobile ads can be some of the worst when you're trying to get to some piece of information and then something pops up and then something else pops up where it's moving around the page like Eric was talking about. So I'd be curious if that's the case. I know when I'm out and I'm seeing ads that aren't being blocked by Pi-hole, since I'm not on my local network, it's definitely a kind of a different experience now with just how many ads get blocked via Pi-hole.
Steve, would you pay for a monthly service to ad block ads?
I don't know. I mean, half the time I ignore them. I mean, I'm running an ad blocker. Still ads get through. I guess it depends on how strong it is.
Yep. Anybody else? Mark, would you pay for a service monthly?
Yeah, I personally don't pay for any services.
I would just use Brave browser.
Brave has its own
Don't
set of
use
issues.
Brave browser.
Yeah.
It really does.
Yeah, Brave is not
They
the alternative.
cover up other ads with their own. It's not good.
Big pod.
Just wanted to point out that it's already over about the time.
Oh, you mean we're over time?
Yeah. Also to say that we have that, or I don't use ad blocker on any browser.
We just deal with the ads, or what?
On most sites, the ads are normal. On at one or two sites, I close it.
I don't think you're on the same internet that I'm on. All right.
One last comment.
Go ahead, Barb. Go ahead.
The thing that to me is important is the third-party cookie trackers, the third-party trackers. That is something that I really make sure that I'm not, and that should be easier to get, to be able to block all those annoying people
Right.
who really trace everything that you do.
It's a shame because there are so many ways to get around that just doing one thing doesn't do much.
No,
you know
I
what I
know.
mean? It's just there's so many ways to get around it. And that's why there are some security-minded people that don't want to use the newer Firefox because of the amount of security settings that were removed from the about config in Firefox to manually turn off some of this stuff. And it's a shame.
I don't use an ad blocker. Never have.
Would you pay for ad blocking? I guess not.
No.
What do you do with the ads, Colin?
I just wait till they're finished or whatever. I don't do much. I just do searches on the internet. If an ad comes up, I just click it, close it.
Right.
That's all I do.
It's an interesting observation. I will tell you as a technician that most people don't even know that that's an option. And so if you talk to technical people, like we're talking to here, everybody even understands what an ad blocker is. If I talk to just a random person, they have no idea. And I started with ad blockers because I was on Windows and ads were a way that I was getting crap on my computer.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's probably not as big a deal now. So, I don't know.
Wendy, would you pay for a monthly fee?
I don't know that I would. I might. But some of it comes back to what Barb said. I actually went through my bank statement the other day and looked at all of the things that were nickel and diming me every month and went and canceled a whole bunch of things. So this comes back to that. Okay, so here's $5 that I add, and then a couple months later I add this $5 and that $5, and then holy crap, I've got $100 that's gone that I could have used for something else.
Yep.
So, I can see the point of it. But I also love my ad blocker. I use one. I have 4 kids that use my computers. And there's things that I don't want them clicking on. I want those ads blocked for the safety of my family.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Tony?
I use an ad blocker, but I don't use Firefox. I use Chrome, only because being in Spain, some of the websites I go to, I need to convert into a language that I can understand. I used to use Firefox. They had a good conversion thing in there, but that no longer works. So I'd switched to Chrome. So I probably wouldn't pay because I use a free ad blocker.
That's also a problem that happens when you're using the newest Firefox, because all of them legacy extensions just got trashed, or a lot of them did anyway. Dan?
So I block ads and malware sites at my firewall. So I probably wouldn't pay for that. I don't think this is the killer feature that Mozilla is going to be rolling out. I think some of the other things that they're talking about will be better. We talked about the VPN. That's kind of handy to have, built into your browser for a lot of people. I think. I know it's popular in Opera, so
I'm one of the few people that actually use it because of Opera, and that's one reason I use it.
Yep. So I can see that being a great thing, and they'll find their niche there. I think they'll find the services that work best, and some of them will probably drop away, and this might be one of them.
It would be awesome if they went with the Proton Mail and made something built into Firefox that you could do the mail as well.
Yep,
that
I
would
think
be
so.
awesome. Anybody else want to jump in? Peter, do you have anything to say about it?
Not really. No. I'd probably consider it, but I'd have to look at all the facts. That's the first time I'm hearing about it.
Well, like I said, it's in beta, and it's not there yet. It's just they're just rolling the parts of it out to, I guess, let everybody know about it. So
I know it's not the browser, but I did decide a while back to pay for the premium, or what they called Red, before on YouTube, and I liked that option.
Yes, the YouTube Red option blocks ads on videos, but allows the video creator to be able to get paid for that ad anyway. So, which is an awesome thing. But that's only available in the US, though. So,
okay.
Wendy,
Yes.
you had your hand. Well, you have your hand up on the screen, or the little tiny.
Oh, I still have it up. I'm sorry. I already talked.
All right. Okay. All right. Anybody else, real quick, before we go?
Can I say something?
You can.
I've used Firefox since it was called Firebird, and before that, Mozilla. I used to help out at a mirror for the extensions that existed back when Firefox started, and I used to help out at the forums too. I've loved Firefox, but ads is not one thing that I will pay Firefox for, unfortunately, because I use NoTrack, and I use that on my Raspberry Pi. Everything that comes to my network automatically goes into that for DNS, and I don't see anything like that.
NoTrack, is that the squid or the Quids up? Yeah. Okay. Anybody else?
Checking again.
I actually had a question. One of my Jogger OS users was actually asking, how do you guys think this will affect Tor?
That's a good question.
I don't know. It wasn't. Wasn't it something that they were talking about doing? like Firefox, wasn't that one of the types of things they were going to try to roll out? Was something like Tor?
I don't know. I told them that I speculated that it may not affect Tor directly because normal Firefox will still exist. I could see a version of Tor coming out that might work with Firefox Premium that may offer you even more security, but I'm not entirely sure because I'm not a Mozilla developer. I don't know all the inside workings. I'm not a Tor developer. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. So that might be something that we would actually need to ask the people behind Tor to figure out, like, hey, what's your stance on this? What are you going to do about it? Are you going to do anything about it?
Yep.
Because they're probably going to be
Just have to
fine.
innovate.
Someone. Thank you.
All right.
Wow.
All right.
Hey, Rocco, can I say one thing about
You
this?
can, sir.
So, talking about donating. So, I donate money to Pi-hole, and I missed last week, so I can talk about the Pi-hole. I think the Pi-hole is like the greatest thing in the world if you have families, because you can set it up with any list you want. If you want to block certain types of sites, you can easily do it. You can see the network traffic. The thing I see with Mozilla is they're going to add a firewall, right? And it's only going to work in the browser. Why would I pay for that when I can pay for PIA, use my firewall wherever, my VPN wherever I want instead of just my browser? So if I wanted a VPN with, anything, I could do that. I really see this is really questionable for me because you have people like that do uBlock Origin, and he specifically states that he does not want any donations. And like Zeb said, there is a lot of money flowing into Mozilla. And so this is really kind of questionable. And it's one of the things Joe Ressington brings it up almost weekly about how much money Mozilla Foundation is making. So what happened with a certain group that's privacy oriented and trying to sell some things recently, it kind of makes me really question what's going on.
Well, I definitely think that there's questions to be asked, but as far as your one point about the why would I pay for a VPN just for the browser when I can have PIA, it depends on your use case. It depends on what you're trying to block. Some people, like myself, want a VPN for every application that goes out on their computer, which is why you would use PIA. Some people don't really care about their other applications. They only care about the websites they go to. So that would be the use case for somebody paying for the VPN service within Firefox. But that's not me.
I got you.
So
I was going to say, to your point, Rocco, honestly, I don't need PIA. As long as I have a proxy VPN, call it whatever you want, really. Literally, the way you turn it on and operate is it's an on-off switch.
The only reason that I use PIA is because, like I said, they have a proven track record of not handing stuff over to places that want the information. And I know that any company at any time can change, but if you have that proven track record, you have something that you can't buy, and that's a good reputation.
Yeah. And the other thing about PIA as well is not only do they not hand over what information that they have, but they have hardly any information anyway. So unless that subpoena came in within the first minute of you having connected to that node and done whatever it is that you've done, I think it's something stupid like 15 seconds later, it's gone from their records anyway. They have the record to give you the connection and then it's dropped. So they haven't got any information to give out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's very affordable too.
Yeah, it is.
The point I was trying to make is that for some people, that level is all they need. They
yeah,
stuff through the browser. That's perfectly fine.
And that's the good use case for that, Matt.
I completely agree, because for like when I'm on Android, as an example, I actually use Orbot and Orfox. So everything I put out goes through Tor.
Well, the one good thing about PIA is they have the mobile version. So
I know, but hops make it a little bit more of a pain in the butt.
Yeah. All right, we really got to cut off here, or
Yeah.
otherwise we're in danger of going over 2 hours. And then I don't think I would be able to get the audio into the file that I need to get it the size to get it out there. All right, everybody gets the last word. Zeb, Peasy, last word.
Okay, well, Toss can turn his webcam on for this one if he's still around, please, because we were fortunate enough this week on Destination Linux to get, I won't call it a world exclusive, but I have in my possession one of only 5 prototypes in the world of a Pinebook Pro.
Wow, look at that.
I met the community manager, Lucas, in London this week, picked it up. It goes back Monday. What an amazing piece of kit. Now, sorry, Toss, I couldn't let you know earlier because I hadn't checked with the boys from Destination Linux as to whether or not I could let you know about this. But yeah, check out Destination Linux. That's coming out next week. We talk about this, and then there'll be a more in-depth review. But it is a prototype. So even though this is working wonderfully well, they are still going to make further improvements.
So next week you're going to talk about it then, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So jealous.
I look
He's going
forward
to have
to that.
installed Debian on it.
I look forward to
Sorry,
that.
Debian.
It's awesome.
Yeah, that already came with Debian GNU Linux 9.8 stretch AARCH 64.
Thomas, last word.
All right. Well, really quickly, I want to thank the hospitality of the Western North Carolina Linux Users Group. I went and visited them earlier today, and that was my first ever Linux Users Group meeting, like in person, and I had a lot of fun. I also want to thank Rocco and Zeb's hospitality for having this every week. It's a lot of fun, even though it's not in person. Beyond that, check out JoggerOS at joggeros.org, and I am looking forward to checking out Debian 10.
Oh my gosh. Come on.
I was doing so good it intentionally broke the record.
Dan, last word.
My ears are bleeding now.
I know.
No, thanks, Rocco and Zeb, for hosting this. As always, a lot of fun, good discussion. Enjoyed talking about the Firefox and everybody's good time in Arch. So yeah, we actually talked more about Arch than we have a lot of other distros. So it must have been good. I'm jealous of Zeb there too with his Pinebook. That looks really good. I'm very jealous.
Vash, last word.
Thanks for the stream, and we will see how Debian goes this week. Have a great week.
Aris, last word.
Thank you very much for the stream, and really looking forward to Debian.
Matt.
Appreciate being on the stream, Rago. I always appreciate the work you and Zeb put into this. And yeah, looks like I have to put in my FOSCon talk. That'll be interesting.
Nice. When is that? August 25th?
Yeah, it's in August 25th. I got a day and a half to actually get that finished and submitted.
I was actually thinking about going to that, but that would mean Zeb would have to probably host Biddle that week because I don't know if I'd be back in time.
Mate, you go and enjoy it. I'm sure Dan and I can carry the baton again.
Yeah.
It's a good time. That talk might be a little controversial. Shock and surprise.
Oh my gosh. I don't know if I want to go now.
It would never revolve around philosophy versus pragmatism.
No. Tony, last word.
Thanks again, Rocco, for doing this week. I didn't enjoy trying Arch, so please let's not go there again. And I'll share this week's distro challenge. And just to finish, by the way, I am not on Arch.
Colin, last word, brother.
Yep, thanks for the stream, Rocco. And Zeb, you always doing a lot of work here, so I appreciate that as well. Looks like I'll be busting out of the Arch Wiki this week and onto Debian.
Nice. Steve, last word.
It's always great to be part of this great community. I'm very glad I didn't say next. Actually enjoyed a little bit, so not so bad.
Yep. Obstinate. Last word.
Hey, thanks for having me again. Thanks for having me again. I always appreciate my time here on Saturday nights. It's kind of the highlight of my week still. And I look forward to Debian much more than what we did last week.
Okay. Wendy, last word.
Well, I'm glad I got to join. I don't know when I'll be seeing you all again, but it was a fun week.
Yep.
Good.
Jonathan.
Thanks for having me, Rocco. This is my first time on, and it's good to finally be on. Definitely enjoy this every weekend, and your Linux spotlight you recently started. So yeah, look forward to diving into Debian.
Nice. Well, you're welcome anytime, man.
Thanks.
Chris.
Unmute. There we go. I just had a little lag. Sorry. Anyway, just loving Steve's rename up there for his title, and sorry I missed your streams this week, Steve. I've been really busy at work and haven't had a whole lot of time to play around on the computer.
I hear that.
Other than what I'm paid to do. So had a good time. Had a great challenge this week. My brain hurts a little bit, but it hurts in a good way. I'm exercising the muscle. So anyway, on to the next. And thanks, Rocco and Zeb, for being here and letting us come on and make fools of ourselves.
Dave, last word, brother.
Thank you, Rocco and Zeb. Thank you all for putting up with me. I enjoyed a week where I really didn't have to change anything on a computer to do the challenge. It was nice. But I will enjoy trying Debian, however you say it. I never know. We'll have to get somebody, Tux Digital, to do a how to pronounce.
Well, it's very easy. It's based around Deb and Ian, 2 people. So it's Debian.
Okay, so I will enjoy trying Debian. And talk to you all next week. Thank you.
Joshua, last word.
Orange Cinnamon, chilling. Still in the works, working on 4.2. Otherwise, Archlinks, goodbye to you. Debian, excited. And, working on getting Orange Cinnamon and its FOSS article. See y'all later. Good night.
Bye-bye.
Stan, last word, brother. Stan, hold on. There, try it now.
I will make all of you install OpenBSD and you will all hate it.
I'm sorry.
I really don't think I will.
One day we're going to probably have to do a BSD something or other. So we'll see.
Is that the board?
Something like that. Big Pod, last word.
This stream is awesome. Arch is awesome. And Debian might be awesome. I don't know. See you next week.
Paul. Arch Linux for the win. You know it. Bill, last word, brother.
Thank you, Rocco and Zeb. I'm just a little bit jealous of you today. And then I just wanted to say, just remember when you do this that the founder of this project passed away a few years ago. So just remember Ian Murdoch when you do this install.
Mm-hmm.
Toss, did you get your sound working, brother? No? Okay. Chromebook. Eric, last word.
All right. Thanks for the stream. Thanks everybody for showing up again. I really enjoy seeing everyone. Like Nate said, highlight of my week. Also, Nate almost had me in tears. That was some of the best critical commentary I've heard. in quite a long time. I'm going to go back and
You're
watch
welcome.
it just to see it again on the stream.
Yep.
I do want to say to the Arch folks out there, this isn't anything they haven't heard before, but I will say, just like with Debian and other base distros that have gone on to foster so much innovation and creativity and offshoots, Arch is fantastic. I'm so glad that it exists, and may they continue to, carry that forward. It's a great project. It really is.
I agree. They just need a UI designer for the wiki. Just saying. Ben, last word.
Thanks for the stream. Thanks for having me on. Thanks you guys for trying Arch. You have joined the ranks of those of us who can proudly say, by the way. This week I'll probably have to try Debian in a virtual box, as I don't have my my secondary laptop here right now. So
okay.
And I refuse a distro hop. So
I wouldn't want to install Arch over and over again anyway. Mark, last word. Mark? Peter, last word, brother.
All right. Today it marks 20 years I've been working at my job at the food bank. And the reason I say that is because I'm on our work at the food bank has a magazine every quarter, and I've been interviewed for it. And I made sure the editor wrote down that I use Linux and that I'm part of a community, and hopefully I'll share that on Biddle when it gets published.
Awesome.
Nice.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right. That's going to wrap it up for us. I would like to echo Eric's comments about thank you to the developers that work on Arch. It is a great system. It is not for everybody, but for those that can and are willing to run it, it is a great system. All right. Check out the fact that we have Linux Spotlight and Biddle both on RSS feeds, but I finally was able to get it on iHeartRadio, if anybody cares about iHeartRadio. Just saying, throwing it out there. So check out the video or the audio portion, depending on what you want to look at. That's it for us. I guess we're doing Debian 10 this week. And we'll talk about
Debian.
it. Debian. We'll talk about it next week.
Oh boy.
His wife, Phoebe.
But until then,
Debian.
Remember, long live Linux.
Yeah.
Bye, buddy.
Bye.
See you.
Bye.
Good night.
Night.
Have a good
Good
one,
night.
guys.
Good day.